The Meridian warship Eternal Dawn emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in a dazzling display of power and technological achievement. Admiral Vexthor stood on the command deck, his iridescent scales shimming with barely contained disdain as he studied the primitive solar system before him. Preliminary scans confirm. Supreme Admiral, his science officer reported. The inhabitants have achieved rudimentary spaceflight and established colonies on their fourth planet and natural satellite. Their energy signatures suggest pre-antimatter technology. Vexthor's facial tendrils curled in amusement. Another primitive species to add to the Meridian Empire's collection. The humans had been detected 50 cycles ago, when they first started broadcasting radio signals into space, and now the Empire had come to claim what was rightfully theirs, as they had done with dozens of other civilizations. "Send the standard greeting package," Vexthor commanded. "Let's see how these primitives respond to real civilization." The response came 3 hours later, far faster than expected. A small fleet of human vessels approached the Eternal Dawn's position, led by what appeared to be their flagship. Vexthor nearly choked on his stimulant vapor when he saw it. The human vessels were a hodgepodge of different designs, their hulls marked with crude welds and patches. Some appeared to be repurposed cargo vessels, while others looked like they'd been cobbled together from spare parts. They used primitive chemical thrusters, and their energy signatures were barely above what the Meridians considered industrial waste heat. "They dare approach us in these garbage scows," Vexthor sputtered. "Magnify the lead vessel." The holographic display zoomed in on what the humans called the UES Prometheus. Its hull was scared and pitted, bearing the marks of numerous repairs. Thermal vents released visible clouds of steam into space. Steam, of all things. How had these creatures even managed to reach their own moon? A communication request pinged their systems. Vexthor gestured lazily, allowing it through. The human that appeared on screen was unremarkable. A female with graying hair and dark skin, wearing what looked like a utility uniform rather than proper military regalia. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our solar system." Vexthor didn't bother hiding his contempt. "I am Supreme Admiral Vexthor of the Meridian Empire. Your species has been deemed worthy of absorption into our glorious civilization. Surrender your autonomy now, and we will ensure your transition into our empire is relatively painless." The human admiral's expression didn't change. If anything, she seemed to be studying him with the same intensity one might study an interesting insect. "I'm afraid that won't be possible, Supreme Admiral. Humanity values its independence." A ripple of laughter spread through the Meridian bridge crew. These primitives thought they had a choice. "Perhaps a demonstration is in order," Vexthor said. He gestured to his weapons officer. "Target their smallest vessel with a minimal power beam. Show them what real technology looks like." The Eternal Dawn's primary weapon charge, its crystalline matrix humming with enough power to level a city. The beam lashed out, striking the designated human vessel. And nothing happened. Vexthor blinked all 4 eyes. "Report." "Sir, the beam was deflected." "No, that's not possible with their technology level. Recalibrating sensors." Admiral Chen's voice cut through their confusion. "Supreme Admiral, I should mention that what you see isn't always what you get. Humanity learned long ago that appearance and reality are often very different things." Before Vexthor could respond, his sensor officer screamed, "Sir, energy spike. It's impossible." The primitive human vessels were transforming. Outer hull plates that had appeared to be patchwork repairs were sliding away, revealing sleek weapon systems unlike anything in the Meridian database. The steam vents were actually cooling systems for what his sensors now recognized as contained antimatter reactors. And the crude chemical thrusters were dissolving into quantum field manipulators that put Meridian technology to shame. "You see, Supreme Admiral," Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's determination. "We've been watching the stars for a very long time. We've seen empires like yours come and go. And we learned that the best defense isn't always a show of force. Sometimes it's letting your opponent underestimate you until it's too late. Vexthor's scales paled as he realized the truth. This hadn't been first contact at all. They weren't the ones making the assessment. They were the ones being assessed. And they had failed spectacularly. The last thing he saw before the human fleet opened fire was Admiral Chen's slight smile. It wasn't cruel or mocking. If anything, it held a touch of sadness, as if she had hoped, despite everything, that the Meridians might have been different from all the other empires that had come before. They weren't, and now they would learn the same lesson those other empires had learned. Never judge a species by its appearance, especially when that species had survived and thrived on one of the most challenging worlds in the galaxy. The battle that followed would be remembered in Meridian history as the Day of Humbling. But that's another story. 20 years before the Meridian encounter, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the United Earth Council, her hand steady despite the weight of her presentation. The holographic display behind her showed a simple radio transmission, the first detected signal from what would later be identified as the Meridian Empire. "They're coming," she said simply. "Not today, not tomorrow, but they're coming. And based on the transmission patterns we've intercepted, they're not coming in peace." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Elena waited, knowing her next words would change the course of human history. "But we have an advantage they don't know about. They have no idea we can detect them." The quantum array that had picked up the Meridian signals was itself a closely guarded secret. While humanity broadcast obvious radio signals into space, their real communications network used quantum entanglement, undetectable to conventional scanning methods. It was just one of many technologies that Earth had developed in secret, hidden beneath a carefully maintained facade of primitive spaceflight. "Their transmissions reveal a pattern," Elena continued. "The Meridians have conquered 17 known civilizations. Each time, they follow the same protocol. First contact, technological assessment, and then either forced absorption or annihilation. But there's something else in the data, something they try to hide." She gestured, and the hologram shifted to show analysis of Meridian weapon signatures. "They're not as advanced as they pretend to be. Their technology is impressive, yes, but it's stagnant. They haven't made any significant advancements in over 300 years. They rely on overwhelming force and the fear their reputation inspires." In the years that followed, humanity embarked on the greatest deception in its history. On the surface, they developed exactly as the Meridians would expect. Chemical rockets, basic ion engines, clumsy attempts at faster-than-light travel. But beneath this carefully crafted veneer, Earth's scientists were working on something revolutionary. Admiral Chen, then a young captain, had been one of the first to understand the true potential of their strategy. "If they think we're primitive," she had said, "they won't look too closely at our failures. Every failed experiment, every abandoned project, can hide something else entirely." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Marcus Wong, studying ancient Earth legends of shapeshifters, developed the first prototype of what would become humanity's greatest advantage: metamorphic technology. Vessels that could change their entire configuration in seconds, weapons disguised as structural supports, quantum reactors that mimicked the heat signature of primitive fusion cores. But the real genius wasn't in the technology itself. It was in the psychology behind its use. Humanity didn't just build advanced ships. They built ships that looked deliberately primitive. Every patch, every weld, every seemingly inefficient design choice was carefully calculated to reinforce the image of a species just beginning to reach for the stars. The Artemis program became their cover story, a highly publicized, seemingly ambitious, but ultimately primitive attempt to establish bases on Mars and the Moon. What the public saw were traditional rockets and basic habitation modules. What they didn't see were the quantum manufacturing facilities hidden deep within lunar caverns, or the antimatter production facilities buried beneath the Martian polar ice caps. Training posed its own challenges. How do you prepare crews to act primitive while maintaining the skills needed to operate advanced technology? The solution was elegant in its simplicity. They trained for both. Every crew member learned to operate their ships as if they were actually primitive vessels, while simultaneously mastering the advanced systems hidden beneath the surface. The deception went beyond technology. Earth's governments maintained a carefully crafted image of division and competition, making their space programs seem like extensions of national pride rather than a unified defense strategy. The United Earth Space Force was officially formed as a peacekeeping organization, its true nature hidden behind bureaucratic paperwork and seemingly inefficient protocols. When their long-range sensors detected the Meridian fleet entering nearby systems, humanity was ready. They had spent 2 decades preparing for this moment, building a defense force that looked like an infant's first steps into space, but contained technology that would make even the Meridian's most advanced systems seem obsolete. The final piece fell into place 3 days before the Meridians arrived. Admiral Chen stood in the real command center of the UES Prometheus, buried deep within layers of metamorphic technology. Around her, crew members ran final checks on systems that, officially, didn't exist. "Remember," she told her crew, "we're not just defending Earth. We're teaching a lesson that the galaxy desperately needs to learn. Appearance isn't reality. Technology isn't just about power. It's about how you use it. And most importantly, never ever underestimate a species that evolved on a death world." As the Meridian ships approached Earth, humanity's greatest performance was about to begin. 20 years of preparation, of careful deception and hidden advancement, were about to pay off. The trap was set, and the Meridians were flying right into it, their arrogance blinding them to the truth that would soon change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Meridian Empire's response to their flagship's destruction was exactly what humanity had predicted. Within hours, a fleet of over 300 warships dropped out of hyperspace, their crystalline hulls forming a vast wall of light at the edge of the solar system. Grand Marshal Xerix, Supreme Commander of the Meridian Armada, stood aboard his command ship, the Infinite Dominion. His scales had darkened to deep purple with rage as he reviewed the footage of the Eternal Dawn's destruction. "These primitives dare to hide their true technological level from us," he snarled. "They will learn the price of such deception. Begin the invasion pattern." But humanity had planned for this too. As the Meridian fleet advanced, they encountered nothing. No resistance, no ships. Even the colonies on Mars and the Moon appeared to have been hastily evacuated, leaving behind only the most basic infrastructure. "Supreme Commander," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting no significant military presence in the system. It appears they've retreated to their homeworld." Xerix's tendrils writhed with pleasure. "Cowards. They show their true nature. Prepare the subjugation protocol." The Meridian fleet moved into position around Earth, their formation flawless after centuries of conquered worlds. Xerix opened a channel to all Earth frequencies. "People of Earth," he broadcast, "your deception and resistance have been noted. However, the Meridian Empire is merciful. Surrender now, reveal all of your technological secrets, and your species may yet survive as our servants." The response came not in words, but in action. Across Earth's oceans, the water began to churn. What the Meridians had dismissed as primitive aquatic vessels, aircraft carriers, submarines, and research ships, suddenly transformed. Metamorphic technology activated, revealing advanced weaponry hidden beneath the waves. The entire Pacific Fleet shed its disguise, quantum drives lifting massive warships from the depths. In orbit, thousands of what appeared to be pieces of space debris, old satellites, rocket stages, and defunct space stations, shimmered and changed. The orbital junkyard that the Meridians had ignored transformed into a web of defense platforms and automated weapon systems. But the real surprise came from the Moon. The seemingly abandoned lunar bases cracked open like eggs, revealing vast hangars built deep within the lunar crust. From these emerged humanity's true fleet, ships that had never been disguised because they had never been seen at all. Admiral Chen's voice cut through all frequencies. Grand Marshal Xerix, you believe we retreated out of cowardice. The truth is, we needed you exactly where you are now. The quantum web activated. Hundreds of microsatellites, hidden in Earth's magnetic field, generated an interlocking field of quantum disruption. The Meridian Fleet's perfect formation became their perfect trap as their ships found themselves unable to enter hyperspace. You see, Chen continued, we studied your tactics. You always position your fleet in the same optimized pattern. It's impressive, mathematical, perfect, and entirely predictable. The first wave of human attacks came from below as the ocean-launched vessels opened fire. Their weapons weren't the crude nuclear missiles or plasma cannons the Meridians had expected. Instead, they fired graviton pulses that bypassed the crystalline shields completely, targeting the exact resonance frequency of Meridian hull material. Dozens of Meridian ships shattered instantly, their supposedly indestructible hulls collapsing into crystalline dust. The orbital defense grid activated next, not firing weapons, but instead generating a complex field of quantum interference that turned the Meridian's own shield harmonics against them. Impossible. Xerix roared as his fleet began to disintegrate. How could primitives like you develop such weapons? We're not primitives, Chen replied calmly. We're survivors. While you spent centuries relying on the same technology, we were innovating, experimenting, adapting. Every piece of technology we developed had one purpose: to counter your supposed advantages. The lunar fleet moved into position, revealing humanity's masterpiece. Each ship was equipped with a quantum mirror drive, technology that could reflect any energy weapon back at its source with exponentially increased power. As the desperate Meridians opened fire, their own weapons turned against them, multiplied 100-fold. Xerix watched in horror as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Ships collided as they tried to escape the quantum web, while others were torn apart by their own reflected weapons. The few vessels that managed to maintain position found themselves caught between the ocean-launched graviton pulses and the lunar fleet's quantum mirrors. This is your final chance, Grand Marshal, Chen announced. Surrender now, and we will spare your remaining ships. Continue fighting, and we will be forced to demonstrate our full capabilities. In that moment, facing the utter destruction of his fleet, Xerix finally understood. The humans hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had developed it specifically to counter every Meridian advantage. While the Empire had grown complacent in its power, humanity had been preparing for this exact moment. The choice before him was clear: surrender and face the shame of defeat, or continue fighting and face complete annihilation. As he watched another wave of his ships shatter under human weapons, Xerix realized that for the first time in centuries, the Meridian Empire had no choice at all. The surrender of the Meridian fleet marked the beginning, not the end, of humanity's carefully orchestrated plan. As the remaining Meridian ships powered down their weapons, Admiral Chen initiated the next phase of the operation, one that had been decades in the making. Grand Marshal Xerix, she transmitted, you will be escorted to Earth for formal surrender proceedings. But first, there's something we'd like you to witness. The quantum web that had trapped the Meridian fleet shifted, creating a corridor through which a single human vessel emerged. Unlike the other ships, this one made no pretense of being primitive. The UEA's horizon gleamed with technology that even the Meridians had never imagined possible. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on its bridge, her hair now gray, but her eyes still sharp with the same intensity that had driven her to first decode the Meridian transmissions 2 decades ago. Grand Marshal, your empire has subjugated 17 civilizations, forcing them to adapt your technology and serve your interests. We've come to offer them a choice. The Horizon's primary system activated, a quantum communication array that could pierce the barriers of space-time itself. Suddenly, representatives from all 17 conquered species appeared in holographic form, their images transmitted instantly across the vast distances of space. People of the Meridian Empire, Elena broadcast, her message reaching every world simultaneously. You are no longer alone in your resistance. Earth stands ready to share our technology, our innovations, and our protection with any world that wishes to reclaim its independence. The reaction was immediate. Across the Empire, subjugated worlds that had long hidden their own technological developments began to reveal themselves. Like humanity, many had been developing in secret, waiting for an opportunity to break free. The Centaurians, first to fall to Meridian rule, unveiled quantum shielding that could render entire planets invisible. The Proxima Collective revealed biomechanical interfaces that could control Meridian technology remotely. Each species had found its own way to resist, its own path to advancement, all hidden beneath a veneer of submission. Xerix watched in mounting horror as his empire crumbled not through violence, but through the simple act of revelation. The careful hierarchies and power structures that had maintained Meridian dominance for centuries dissolved as their subject species reclaimed their autonomy. You see, Admiral Chen explained, her voice carrying a note of sympathy, your greatest mistake wasn't underestimating Earth. It was assuming that technological advancement only moves in one direction, toward bigger weapons and stronger shields. While you focused on domination, we focused on innovation. While you demanded uniformity, we celebrated diversity. The Horizon's sensors detected quantum fluctuations throughout Meridian space as hidden resistance movements activated their own technologies. Ships thought lost centuries ago reappeared. Cloaking systems finally deactivated. Underground cities emerged on worlds thought to be barely inhabited. But how? Xerix demanded, his scales pale with shock. How did you coordinate all of this? Elena smiled. We didn't. Each species found its own way to resist, developed its own technologies, harbored its own dreams of freedom. All we did was prove it was possible to stand up to you. The rest, that was already there, waiting for the right moment. Human ships began moving through the quantum corridors, establishing diplomatic contact with newly liberated worlds. The technology that had been developed to fight the Meridians was now being repurposed to help rebuild and reconnect a galaxy that had lived too long under the shadow of empire. Admiral Chen turned to the holographic representatives. We offer you not conquest or subjugation, but partnership. Earth will share its advances freely, asking only that you do the same. Together, we can build something better than an empire. We can build a community of equals. The response came in waves of acceptance, as species after species chose to join what would become known as the Galactic Cooperative. Even some Meridian worlds, long disillusioned with their empire's stagnation, requested membership. Xerix, watching his life's work transform into something entirely different, finally asked the question that had burned in his mind since the battle began. Why show us mercy? Why not simply destroy us as we would have destroyed you? Because, Chen replied, that's the fundamental difference between us. You seek to dominate. We seek to elevate. You demand submission. We offer collaboration. And most importantly, we remember what it's like to be the underdog. Earth will never become what the Meridian Empire was, because we know that true strength lies not in forcing others to follow, but in helping them to rise. As the day drew to a close, the solar system that had seemed doomed to become just another conquered territory had instead become the birthplace of a new galactic order. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if reflecting the hope that now spread across thousands of worlds. 5 years after the fall of the Meridian Empire, Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation dome of the Galactic Cooperative's new headquarters, watching ships from 100 different species navigate the busy space lanes around Earth. Each vessel represented a different approach to technology, a unique solution to the challenges of space travel, and together they painted a picture of diversity that the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries. Quite a view, isn't it? Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined her, walking with the aid of a quantum-assisted mobility frame, one of countless innovations that had emerged from the free exchange of technology between species. Sometimes I still can't believe it worked, Chen admitted. not just defeating the Meridians, but everything that came after. The Galactic Cooperative had evolved far beyond what anyone had initially imagined. Rather than simply replacing the Meridian Empire with a new power structure, it had become a true collaborative network. Each member species contributed its unique insights and innovations, leading to technological and social advances that would have been impossible under the old regime. The Meridians themselves had undergone the most dramatic transformation. With their empire dissolved, they had been forced to confront centuries of stagnation. Many younger Meridians, freed from the rigid hierarchies of their past, proved to be brilliant innovators once they embraced change. Their crystalline technology, combined with other species' advances, had led to breakthroughs in quantum computing and energy storage. "Have you seen the latest reports from the frontier?" Elena asked, bringing up a holographic display. The joint exploration teams have made contact with 3 new spacefaring species in the past month alone. And this time, first contact was genuinely peaceful. The exploration teams were perhaps the greatest symbol of the new era. Each ship carried representatives from multiple species, approaching new civilizations, not with demands for submission, but with offers of friendship and exchange. The trauma of the Meridian Empire's expansion had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson about the importance of respecting developmental diversity. A small ship caught Chen's attention, one of the new Meridian designs, its crystalline hull now incorporating elements of human metamorphic technology. Former Grand Marshal Xerx's son served as its captain, working alongside a human first officer. They specialized in helping newly discovered civilizations join the galactic community on their own terms. "We never did tell them everything, did we?" Elena mused. "About the real reason we developed our technology the way we did." Chen shook her head. The truth was more complex than their official history suggested. Humanity hadn't just developed its technology to resist the Meridians. They had developed it that way because Earth itself had taught them the value of adaptation and deception. Every creature that had survived Earth's evolutionary crucible had learned to be more than it appeared, to find advantages in being underestimated. "Maybe that's the greatest lesson we taught the galaxy," Chen said. "That strength isn't just about power, it's about adaptability, about finding different ways to solve problems." The observation dome filled with light as Earth's sun rose over the horizon. Below them, the sprawling complex of the cooperative headquarters reflected the morning light in a dazzling display of multiple architectural styles merged into harmony. Representatives from hundreds of worlds worked together there, each bringing their own perspective to the challenges of galactic civilization. A notification chimed softly. The quarterly meeting of the Cooperative Council was about to begin. Unlike the rigid hierarchies of the past, the Council operated on principles of rotating leadership and consensus building. Today's agenda included proposals for new educational exchanges, technological sharing protocols, and the establishment of cultural preservation zones where developing civilizations could grow without interference. "You know what makes me proudest," Elena said as they prepared to leave. "Not that we won, but that we won in a way that made victory meaningful for everyone. We didn't just tear down an empire, we helped build something better." Chen nodded, watching a group of young diplomats, human, Meridian, and a dozen other species, engaged in animated discussion as they headed to their morning sessions. That's the real difference between an empire and a cooperative. An empire tries to make everyone the same. A cooperative helps everyone become the best version of themselves. As they walked to the council chamber, Chen reflected on how far they'd come from those tense moments when the Meridian fleet first arrived in Earth's solar system. The galaxy had learned that true strength comes in many forms, that progress isn't a straight line, and that sometimes the most powerful technology isn't a weapon at all. It's the ability to bring people together. The stars stretched out above them, no longer a frontier to be conquered, but a vast sea of possibilities to be explored together. Humanity had changed the galaxy not by dominating it, but by showing it a different way forward. And in doing so, they had helped create something that would last far longer than any empire, a future where the combined creativity and determination of 1,000 species could reach heights that none of them could have achieved alone.